Curiosity still turns here in World Wrestling Entertainment. What with two newcomers on the scene, Mr. Rene Dupree and Mr. Sylvain Grenier, and also Sable, making waves very quickly, albeit hot and steamy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bite This Week. I'm Howard Finkel, the Think. Joining me this week, replacing Tom Pritchard, who is on some personal business, is my good friend Josh Matthews.
Howard, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Josh. Thanks for joining us this week.
It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to know why they stopped rolling that Torrie Wilson and Sable thing back there. I want to know what happened after they got out of the shower.
I don't know. We'll try and find out a little more about it because one of our guests this week on Bite This is going to be Sable. We're looking forward to talking with her. Also today, we have William Regal joining us. Now, William Regal, of course, is a very unique situation here in World Wrestling Entertainment. He's battled a lot of demons in his life, and now he's probably in the greatest battle of his life right now. And we will be talking to William Regal about that. Of course, Draz's 2 cents, Tales from the Hook with Taz, and you don't even know about this, but I've arranged a very special guest, somebody who I've known for a long, long time is going to be on the show. If I told you, then it wouldn't be a surprise anymore, would it?
I guess not. I can't wait to find out, though.
All right. Well, we're also going to do an Outthink the Think this week, and we welcome your calls at 1-888-LIVE-WWE. And also, the chat room is open. Bite this at WWE.com. So, Josh, this past week, looking at Raw, looking at SmackDown, where do we begin? Let's just talk about Raw. Let's talk about the cowardice that Rock apparently showed towards Goldberg.
Right, I mean, Goldberg called out Rock, challenged him to a match for Backlash, and The Rock apparently said no. He doesn't want to give the fans what they want. He doesn't want to give them Goldberg versus Rock, and I don't understand that thing.
Do you foresee perhaps a little bit of cowardice on the part of Rock? I mean, Goldberg has just joined WWE. He came in, you know, like nothing else. Nobody had a spectacular entrance like Goldberg did, and then this past week, you saw what happened. I mean, I'm just trying to think, do you actually think there's a little cowardice in The Rock?
I think so. I mean, The Rock's faced many challenges, though, Frank, and I think Goldberg coming in with all the steam he's got behind him coming in, yeah, I think we saw a little cowardice from The Rock this past week on Raw.
I think it's far from over because we do know that in Worcester, Mass. on Sunday night, April the 27th at the Centrum, WWE Backlash does take place. And, of course, it's going to be Goldberg making his debut, and I still think that Goldberg is really going to be hell-bent on getting this match with The Rock. I have a feeling we're far from settled on that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I can't wait for Backlash and see what happens between Goldberg and The Rock.
And there's other things brewing, but right now, out of the pot, with his 2 cents every week on WWE.com, it's the one and only Darren Drozdov. Draz, it's Howard, it's Josh Matthews. Welcome to Bite This as always.
Hey, guys, great to be here. How's it going?
It's going pretty good this week. It's a little rainy up here in Stamford today, and Dr. Tom is on assignment. He's got business to conduct, so Josh has been gracious enough to step in.
That's great.
Draz, it's been a real interesting week. I don't know if you just heard our comments, but of course, the showdown number 2 with Goldberg and Rock this past Monday on Raw. Let me get your question. Let me get your answer question, or whatever it may be. Let's just find out from you. Do you feel that there is some cowardice on The Rock's part for absolutely saying no way to a match at Backlash against Goldberg on the 27th?
Well, I think what it is Rock being a smart wrestler, and we all know that he is. I think he's saying no way. I believe that, Goldberg, of course, coming back, he's got everybody behind him, and he's got everybody, rooting for him, and Rocky's been, basically, after his win at WrestleMania, people are way down on Rock, and I think he's going to lull Goldberg into thinking that he's scared of him, he doesn't want anything to do with him, and that's what he's doing right now. Rocky isn't scared of anybody out there. He's not afraid of Goldberg. He's definitely baiting him in, but, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at Backlash, but, leading up to that is probably the best part.
So you feel that the match is inevitable?
I think the match is inevitable. I mean, Rocky's saying there's no way. I think it's going to end up happening. I think he's just playing mind. I hope he's just playing mind games. I'm sure the people would want to see it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. I mean, Rock did beat Austin at WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
So now you come into Backlash, and you got to figure, I mean, Rock's coming off all that steam from WrestleMania. Goldberg's coming with all the steam, and I'd love to see these two collide, Howard.
It would be interesting. And then the other factor in this whole equation, Draz, and I don't know what to make of this. There's an identity crisis brewing here, by my estimation, with Christian. He got involved in this, and he paid for it. What do you make of Christian and, sucking up to Rock, which is flagrantly what I saw?
Well, the sucking up was a nice term for it, but, well, you know what? Rocky was out there telling him he's got, he sees opportunities, things like that, and I think he was feeling that if he could go out there and take Goldberg down, and, I think that he felt that it would increase his stock in the company. Of course, the people are going to hate him more, but, I don't think he was factoring in, having Goldberg turn around and spear him and take him out and leave him laying there in the ring, kind of flopping around like a fish out of water. But, I mean, Christian's trying to, it seems like, he's trying to maybe recreate himself a little bit, and, more power to him for doing that.
No question about it. Also, another surprise this past Monday, Draws, and I'm really anxious to get your thoughts on this. With the tag team match going on between Shawn Michaels, Booker T, Triple H, and Y2J Chris Jericho, things got a little hot and heavy, and out of the blue, look who shows up on Raw, Kevin Nash.
Well, you know what? He's been out for a long time, and what has it been, 10, 12 months now, whatever it was. And I know, there's been talk over the internet that he was coming back, and it was great to see him walking, strolling down that ramp and into the ring and taking care of a little business. And, I'm happy that I'm happy for him that he's back now. Sure, it's been a long road back, and it was a big shock to everybody, especially the guys that were in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great to see Kevin Nash back in the WWE, especially after he came out with that, it was a quad injury.
No question.
And it took him out for like Dross said, almost 12 months or so. It's great to see him back on Raw, and he came back and made a big impact.
And for the brief time that we saw him with the impact that he made this past Monday, he looks terrific. He was really dedicated and determined to get right back into condition, which he did. He looks fabulous, to be quite frank.
No doubt.
Roz, another thing, let me ask about the situation involving Eric Bischoff and Jim Ross, good old JR. Evidently, JR is no longer part of the Raw broadcasting team. What's your take on that?
Well, I'm more power to JR for standing up and saying, enough is enough. There, I'm not gonna listen to you. I quit. Jim Ross is definitely going to be involved somewhere. Whether, who knows? Maybe he'll end up showing up on SmackDown now. I mean, it's a very good possibility. Because as most people know, Bischoff gets under everybody's skin, and then having to work for him night in and night out, it can get to be too much. And JR finally had enough, and I'm hoping to see maybe he'll show up on SmackDown. It'd be great for the SmackDown show. Maybe they could do a little switcheroo there.
Good point, Josh. Indirectly, you're involved with SmackDown. You do Velocity with Ernest the Cat Miller. Let me ask you a question, hypothetically speaking. If the opportunity presented itself and you were sought after by Eric Bischoff, would you consider moving over to the Raw side, or would you probably still want to stay with your loyalists, shall we say, in the SmackDown group?
I gotta be honest with you, Fig. I'd love to go over to Raw and call the matches over there. I don't foresee that happening, but
Are you saying you're uncomfortable with Ernest Miller?
No, I love Ernest Miller. How are you putting words in my mouth?
Stir it up, Howard. Stir it up.
But I don't see JR coming over to SmackDown. I don't see Michael Cole and Taz letting that happen.
Okay.
But no, Howard, you're putting words in my mouth. I have no problem with Ernest the Cat Miller. The Cat and I represent non-velocity every Saturday night.
So every Saturday night, show for Velocity. Way to go, Josh. but the deal is, again, it's going to be interesting. Right now, it looks like Coach is going to fill the shoes for the time being. So we'll just have to see how that all develops. I mean, it's going to be most interesting to see what happens. And where's JR going? What's he going to do?
I mean, JR's been calling wrestling matches for 30 years.
I know.
And all of a sudden he's forced to quit by Eric Bischoff. Yeah, I don't think we've seen the last of JR.
No, we'll just have to see what develops there, of course. And Draws, just shifting gears for a little bit to SmackDown. Of course, we now have two participants who are going to meet in the finals of the #1 Contenders Tournament to determine who will oppose WWE Champion Brock Lesnar at Backlash. And those two, of course, are Chris Benoit and Lucky John Cena.
Well, Lucky John Cena has definitely played his cards right with not only the FBI, but with Taker doing everything he had to do to, he definitely got inside Taker's head. We saw that. But, having the FBI come out at the prime time, they did everything. He did everything and anything he could to win that match and get to that #1 Contenders match with Benoit. And, more power to him for doing that. And I'll tell you what, I'm sure Brock Lesnar would much rather see Cena for the simple fact of everything that's going on between those two.
But who would Draws like to see meet Brock Lesnar, honestly?
Ooh. You know what? I think he'd rather meet Cena. I think he'd definitely rather meet Cena. I mean, Benoit is a grizzled vet that has been around a long time. And even though there's such a huge size, difference, I think he'd much rather face Cena, the young star who has done quite well for himself, but I think he'd much rather face Cena.
All right. Well, Draws, we appreciate your time as always here on Bite This. And as I always ask, tell us what we're going to be able to enjoy reading on WWE.com in your 2 cents column for the upcoming week.
Well, last week I had to miss a lot of computer trouble, so I'm going to make up a little bit of time, but you know, I of course have to get into the Rocky Goldberg thing and talk about what a great SmackDown show last night. Everything that went on, and you know, it's kind of a makeup and a lot of things to fill in basically from you know, last week and this week.
It's a good read as always, right, Josh?
Absolutely. I catch it every week.
Attaboy. Draws, all the best, and we'll look forward to speaking with you next week here on Bite This, okay?
Okay, guys, take care.
Thanks again. That's
Later,
Draws,
Draws.
and of course, Draws just never stays idle. This guy, you know, for everything that's happened, he has always overcome the good things in life, and he's made the good things in life happen for him. So right now we're going to move along here on Bite This again. If you have the opportunity, you want to call in, we're going to have William Regal today. We're going to have the lovely Sable join us, and it's easy, Josh, easy. Do you know, now wait a minute, have you introduced yourself to Sable since you've been back on SmackDown?
Yeah, I actually
Tell
know,
me about your first meeting with
Well,
her.
I actually know Sable from back before when she wasn't working with the company, in between her, you know, during her hiatus, so to speak. So I know her from there, and you know, it was a surprise for me to see her in the back during the day, and I went up and, you know, we chatted for a little while and things like that, and I think she's a wonderful person. I'm glad she's back here. I don't think Tori Wilson's so happy she's back, but that's a story for
I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's got the better Playboy layout, Tori or Sable?
Howard, you know I don't look at Playboy. I have a girlfriend, and I don't look at those kind of magazines.
Are you sure? I wonder about that, Josh. You're ducking me, but
I
that's
love them
okay.
both. Tori Wilson's issue was great, as was Sable's for her time, and you know, Howard, I got them both. I got them all, actually. I got China's issue from back in the day. I got every one of them.
Not a problem. Well, nevertheless, WWE.com. Bite this at WWE.com if you want to get in the chat room. We have the instant feedback. I'll tell you what, Josh, there's some comments here. Bushuka, I believe, says, "Hey, Josh, looking good, man."
Yeah.
What does that signify?
I don't know. I hope that's a girl, though, and not a guy, though.
All right.
Yeah, really.
Not a problem. And, of course, we're going to do an Outthink the Think question this week, too. It's going to be a very easy one. If you were watching SmackDown last night, the answer should be right on the tip of your tongue. It concerns the return of Roddy Piper to SmackDown last night. I'll tell you what, I don't know if you remember Piper's Pit. You might not have.
Howard. I do remember, though. I've been a long time a fan of this company. I remember.
Okay, and to see Roddy last night just come back and take charge, you know, he pulls no punches. He doesn't care if you're his friend or you're his enemy. Roddy Piper speaks how Roddy Piper feels, and he doesn't care who he mows down in the process, as evidenced by Rikishi last night. Although Sean O'Hare might have something to say about
Just
that.
a little bit. Sean had a little something to do with it, too. I mean, 14 years it's been since we saw Piper's Pit on WWE programming, and it was great to see it back on SmackDown, especially with this first guest, Mr. McMahon. And those two agreed on one thing. It's that they both hate Hulk Hogan. A lot.
I realize that, and it's too bad. And, you know, I wonder how Hulk feels these days. We're going to try and find a little bit about that out shortly, and you'll see what I mean in just a few moments. But, you know, Hulk Hogan now, as Mr. McMahon said, he's paying off the rest of his contract. He feels that's legal to do. It's certainly not unethical. It's part of the deal.
Right.
And he's going to be rotting, the leprosy. What if you were in Hulk Hogan's shoes? How would you feel right now?
For Hulk Hogan, it's the need to perform. It's the need to be in the ring in front of his Hulkamaniacs and giving 110% like he has for the past, I don't know how many ever years. So for him to have to sit at home being forced by Mr. McMahon, it's not good for Hulk. And I mean, you think about it, he wanted to go out on top in this business with his head held high, and he can't do that.
Well, speaking of Hulk Hogan, certainly one of the icons in our industry, I promised you a surprise guest, okay? And I can tell you that this gentleman I'm about to bring on the program is a very dear friend of mine. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for nearly 20 years. I know you have no idea who I'm talking about. I would just like my friend out there, first of all, sir, welcome to Bite This. I'd just like you to reveal your voice, and maybe Josh will know who you are.
Hey, just remember, never trust a midget.
Now you know who that is.
Oh, you
don't
got to know who that is. The mouth of the South.
Jimmy Hart has joined us on Bite This. Jimmy, it is so good to talk to you. Howard, of course, with Josh Matthews. What is floating out there today?
Man, everything's beautiful, man. You know, I'm down here in Orlando, Florida, and you know me, I've always got a few little projects going on. You know, the Hulkster's daughter, Brooke, is in the process of doing something with Luke Perlman. You know, Luke Perlman, of course, the big entrepreneur for the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears. So
all your favorite bands, too.
no,
huh,
I
Jimmy?
love, you know that, hey, 3 count. You got to add 3 count to that.
Jeez. Bring the Gentrys back. I'm begging you.
No, keep on dancing. You know we will.
Jimmy, it's so good to talk to you. You know, Jimmy has been one of my dear friends. There's a long story about Jimmy Hart and I getting involved as friends. You know, many years ago, I used to watch tapes of the old Memphis territory in the early 80s, and one of the most dynamic personalities then was Jimmy Hart. And I used to watch these tapes every single week, and I put a buzz in the ear of the people here within our company back then. I said, you've got to get this guy. He is absolutely terrific. This guy causes more stuff down in Memphis than the entire company combined. And wouldn't you know it, it's like lightning came out of a bottle. Jimmy joined us in the mid-'80s. And, you know, he certainly, you know, turned managing upside down in this organization. Right, Jimmy?
Well, right before the first WrestleMania. Remember, I came in about a month ahead of time, and so but because of you and because, remember, Hillbilly Jim, I was at home that weekend. I'll never forget it. And Hillbilly Jim called, and he goes, and I said, Hillbilly, while I was out of town, I think I was sharing a room back then with Eddie Gilbert and Plowboy Frazier, who up in the WWE now, he was formerly
Uncle Elmer.
Uncle Elmer. So all of a sudden I get this call. I call home, and they say, Vince McMahon called your house. And I went, oh, please, Vince McMahon calling me? You got to be kidding me. That's probably Austin Idol. Then the next week, George Scott had called because he was a booker back then. I still didn't call back to New York. Then finally, Hillbilly Jim had called me, and he said, hey, it's really true. Let me call Howard Finkel up there. And then I think about 20 minutes later, Vince McMahon called. I like to have a heart attack. And so I was in New York, and the rest has been history.
Oh, it's been a great ride. Jimmy, your ride has taken you through many different valleys, many different avenues. You've had an illustrious career in Memphis. You had an illustrious career when you were actively managing here in WWE. Of course, your travels did take you to WCW for a while, and your travels did hook you up with one Hulk Hogan. And certainly you've been involved with the Hulkster for, well, as a friend for many years, but more specifically on the business side for the last 10 years. Tell me about how that came about. Tell me about your arrangement, how you feel, you know, being close to Hulk, and then I want to get another question answered.
Okay, cool. I'll try to do it in 50 words or less. But but what I was going to tell you, my thing with Hulkster is I met him in Memphis, of course, when we did the big angle down there with Jerry Lawler when Jerry had broke his leg, and I was Jerry's big counterpart there where he hated me and I hated him, and each week we'd bring a different talent in to fight Jerry. So, you know, the Funks came in, Bundy, you know, the list goes on, and then finally, you know, Hulk came in. And a quick story, I've got to say this real quick, and Lawler always denies it on me, but back when I had the Gentrys and I was down there on Monday nights watching Jerry and those guys wrestle, Hulk was in there, I believe, as Terry Bollea back then, one of the Boulder brothers. And I remember standing by that mesh fence, and we were looking at the ring, and Lawler came up to me and goes, Jimmy, what do you think of that big guy in the ring? And I said, oh, my God, he's awesome. The people love him. And he goes, you know what? He'll never make a dime in this business. Now, to this day, Lawler says, I've never said that, but I'm telling you he did. But I met Hulk then, and then, of course, as time went by, I did my Gentry deal on the road, and I was in Memphis for 5 years with Lawler and that bunch. And then all of a sudden, when I had the call, thank God for you, Howard, I went to New York and met Hulk again up there. And I think Hulk and I really became a little tight because Bobby Heenan was managing Ric Flair at the time, and something happened with Bobby. His neck was hurt or something for a 2-week period there. Ric Flair didn't have a manager to go to the ring with him, and so they had asked me, would I like to manage Ric Flair for that 2-week time and do this program with Hulkster? And, of course, I went, oh, my God, feet don't fail me now because I love Ric Flair, too. So I think we started getting a little tight then. And then my last year at, you'll probably know what year that was better than I would, Howard, but the last year I was with the WWE, Hulk came to me. They switched me baby then, and I did an angle with Hulk against a team that I was managing, Ted DiBiase and Erwin R. Shyster, Money Incorporated, and I really switched babyface, and I did that little program. And I remember in Madison Square Garden going to Vince McMahon, and Vince said, look, Jimmy, he said, I know you're doing the thing with Hulkster, and Hulkster had told him he was fixing to maybe do some movies and stuff, and had mentioned about me maybe working with him, and Vince was so wonderful. Vince put his arm around me up in Madison Square Garden. He said, look, I want you to do what Jimmy Hart wants to do. If you feel like that's better for you, do it. You've always got a home here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and God bless Vince. And at the time, I'd managed so many people, however, because, you know, I had the Hart Foundation. I had Bundy. I had Adrian Adonis, Dino Bravo, Danny Davis, the wrestling referee. I mean, the list just went, the Rougeaus, the list went on. And I felt like I was kind of running out of things to do. So I went ahead and hugged Vince, and I went and joined Hulk. I was with Hulk in and out of the ring for almost 2 years there. We did the movies together, Thunder in Paradise, and then, of course, we signed with WCW, and that's where I stand now, you know.
Well, you stand very strong. Josh, you know, looking at the career of Jimmy Hart and looking how it's come full circle back to WWE, certainly one has to think about the match at WrestleMania, Josh, and I know you had a question for Jimmy about the match with Mr. McMahon and Hulk, and then what happened subsequently a couple of nights after that.
Right, I mean, Jimmy Hulk beat Mr. McMahon at WrestleMania, and you know, the rules were if Mr. McMahon beat Hulk Hogan, then Hogan had to retire, but Hogan won the match, and then, of course, the boss gets the last laugh, and now Hogan's forced to sit at home. Jimmy, you're the closest to Hulk. How is he feeling right now that he's forced to sit at home?
Well, he's not feeling too great. I'll tell you why. He called me today. I was up here in Orlando, Florida, taking care of this for him, and he called and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" And I said, "What are you doing tonight?" He goes, "Nothing, trying to figure out how to get even with Vince McMahon and to get back in the WWE." And I said, "Well," I said, "you know, you got old Henry Holmes up in L.A., and he's the best attorney in the world. You know, he does handle Pamela Sue Anderson and George Foreman and you Huckster, so I'm sure there's got to be some way." So, you know, he's taking it pretty hard because, you know, he's always loved the wrestling business, and I think the fans have loved him. When Hulk came back to do WrestleMania a year ago, I was with a project called the XWF, as you know about, Josh, and so do you, Howard, and I was down wrapped up in that, and all of a sudden I watch WrestleMania, and all of a sudden I see thousands and thousands of people going crazy over the Hulkster, and I realized then, and I know he did too, how much the fans really love him. So maybe the fans can get behind him, maybe they can get a petition together, maybe they can do something to get Hulkster back in, but right now it's going to be probably handled in court or something, but I know he loves the business.
Well, I get the impression, you know, it's all well and good to have money, okay? Money is the root of all evil sometimes, but money isn't everything. There's such a thing as pride, passion, also the desire to go out there and give back to the people that gave you everything you've had. And for that to be swept out from under him by Mr. McMahon, well, that ain't right, as we would say. And also, I mean, we've also got to see Hulk's boy Nick as of late. And Jimmy, just if I may, do you foresee Nick following in his father's footsteps if indeed that opportunity comes along?
Oh, absolutely. I remember it's like Shane McMahon. I remember Shane, Howard, and you know this too, back when we were running wild down there in the 80s. You know, Shane, what a good kid. I mean, he used to set the ring up. I mean, he did everything for the company. He really, a lot of people say if you've got a famous father, you know, you get in the business or you can be in music or anything, but Shane really busted his butt back then. Vince didn't cut any slack with him. He used to set the ring up and sell T-shirts and merchandise and do promotions, so he's really paid his dues getting there. Howard, a quick story, I've got to say this. I remember one time, and I think you remember this too, we were doing some interviews, me and the Nasty Boys, and Vince McMahon, this is back in the 80s, invited the Knobs and Sags, myself, and the Ultimate Warrior out to his home after we got through doing those interviews.
Right, yeah, I do
and when we went
remember.
out there, we had a big dinner, and everybody paired off in the rooms, and of course they stuck me in, of course she wasn't
You
in town.
didn't eat, Jimmy. I know full well. You should see this guy eat. He's the worst eater in the world.
Really, but so we go out there, we eat, and so all of a sudden the room I stayed in was Stephanie's bedroom. Of course, she wasn't there. Of course, I think she was off to college, and of course the guys, we all flipped coins for it, and I got stuck in the bedroom up there, and then Knobs and these guys stayed in the room with Shane. But I always remember after that night, after that day, I remember Miss McMahon coming up to us years ago, going, "Well, we've learned a very valuable lesson. Never invite any wrestlers over anymore." But I just had to throw that story in back then. But
Jimmy, I just have one final question because we do have to move along, and this has been a pleasant surprise if this is cool with you.
Cool.
1985, you joined WWE. You became a manager extraordinaire. The talent back then was incredible, okay? Now we're in 2003. You're back with the WWE, with Hulk Hogan. Certainly, everybody's happy to see the mouth of the South. There's no harder worker in this industry, Josh, than Jimmy Hart. He's a workaholic plus. Real quickly, just give me your assessment of what you saw back in 1985 with the talent pool that we had then, and bring yourself fast forward to 2003 and tell us what you think about the talent that you see in that ring today.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you're saying I'm back because I really don't know that yet. I thought I was on a summer vacation. You know,
well, I feel you. Jimmy, I met you, I saw you. To me, you'll always be back.
Well, I love you to death, but I wanted to make that clear because I don't want the powers to be up there saying, who said that Jimmy Hart was back, you know? But what I wanted to tell you, well, first of all, the 80s were pretty cool because everybody had a gimmick. You know, Coco had the bird, Jake had the snake, Mr. Fuji had the cane, Jimmy Hart had the megaphone, the list goes, you know, Honk had the guitar.
You remember all that?
Yes, sir.
That was a great talent back then, but I think some of the younger stars you've got now, I'm excited about because most of them were on the Saturday night show that I was producing down there when Eric Bischoff kind of gave me the baton for 6 months to create some characters. I put 3 Count together. A couple of members of 3 Count are with you now, Shane Helms and Shannon Moore.
Yep.
Jamie Noble. I had him as one of the young dragons down there. And so I'm anxious. Sean O'Hare, I'm anxious. Palumbo, I had them all on the Saturday show because we didn't have any of our major stars back then, wasn't allowed to do the Saturday show. Chris Jericho was tremendous for back then because they didn't have to do the Saturday show, but him and Malenko and the Guerreros, all of them came to the Saturday show for me back then, and I loved those kids. But I think you've got some great talent now. I'm glad to see Goldberg back up there, and I tell you, I had a thrill too. I've got to say this. I enjoyed. Triple H was with us down in WCW at the time, but everybody knows my son is in the 101st Airborne Division, which is in Baghdad right now. And
congratulations, Jimmy. You have to be mighty proud of him.
Well, I am, but I'm scared to death too because every time you turn the TV on, but Triple H, there wasn't a night that went by that he didn't come up to me and go, "Hey, how's your son? How's your son?" And that meant a lot to me, and so did a lot of the other wrestlers there too. But I think you've got a lot of great talent. I think you're mixing a little bit of the past with a little bit of the future, and I think that's always a pretty good sign too.
Well, Jimmy, maybe we said something in error that you're back. You never left, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I love you for saying that.
You know, Jimmy, you're a dear friend, but also besides that, certainly you are around again. Okay, if that's the proper word of saying you're around. Josh, I tell you what, people can learn from Jimmy Hart. He's sneaky, he's conniving, but he's one hell of a human being, no matter how you look at it.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, Jimmy, we have to move along, but, this was a great surprise. I know Josh, Josh, I hope you have the opportunity to see Jimmy Hart again soon.
I do. It's great to see Jimmy back. I mean, like Jimmy said, I knew him down in Florida, and he helped me out a lot with my career before coming here. And it's great to see Jimmy around now with Hulk and everything on SmackDown.
And, Jimmy, we hope to see a lot more of you as we move along here because without wrestling, WWE, whatever it is, Jimmy Hart is certainly a fixture. And you know Jimmy's motto, don't you? Never trust. What is it, Jimmy?
Never trust a midget. You know why? Because you never know where they've been.
There you go. Hey, Jimmy, I love you. I'll talk to you soon and take care. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. See you, Josh. See you, Howard.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jimmy Hart. He's tremendous. Well, right now what we want to do is we have an Outthink the Think question this week, Josh.
Do I get
all right.
to and
if you know, first of all, let me ask the question and see if you answer it correctly.
Okay.
You can just keep your thoughts to yourself for a moment.
Okay, all right.
Outthink the Think. All you have to do is to enter the contest, send us an email, bitethis@WWE.com, and if you are correct, I'll pull all the correct answers. If you are correct with the question I'm about to give you, you will win a copy of the Hardy Boys' new book. Now, that's not a bad deal.
No, I've read it about 15 or 16 times already.
You don't look at Playboy, but you'll read the Hardy Boys book.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I reserve comment. Okay, well, here's the question. If you're watching SmackDown last night, you got the inside track. During the course of SmackDown last night, many clips from Piper's Pit were played to herald the arrival of Rowdy Roddy back into WWE with Piper's Pit last night. One clip in particular was with an individual by the name of Frankie Williams. This is one of the classic Piper's Pits. Frankie Williams said he was from a certain city. It's very easy. This week's Outthink the Think question for Hardy Boys book. What city and state did Frankie Williams come from? That's all I want to know. Just send us your thoughts. Email at bitethis@WWE.com, and you will be and the address too. Their address. And send us your address, of course, and we'll notify you if you're the winner. So, do you know the answer? You got to think about this.
I got it.
You do.
Oh yeah, it popped right in my head.
Well, keep it to yourself then, okay? It's going to be. I think it's rather easy, but Piper's Pit. I'm telling you, it's like Roddy never left last night.
It was great to see him back. It was great. Mr. McMahon, poked a little fun at the weight that Piper's put on, but
hey, we all have a few pounds here and there, As long as the head still works, that's the most important thing.
I hear you.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see where Roddy goes with Rikishi and Sean O'Hare. It's going to be very interesting. Speaking of interesting, an individual is going to join us right now, everyone, who has had a very interesting career in our industry. He's had problems, he's had demons, and now he's probably in the greatest fight of his life right now. But this individual is a champion by my eyes, and no matter how you look at it, he's going to come out of what we're going to talk with him today an absolute winner. Joining us on the phone right now is the renowned William Regal. Mr. Regal, good afternoon. It's Howard, Josh Matthews. Welcome to Bite This.
Hello, Howard. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm actually wonderful.
Okay. Well, a lot of people have written here at Bite This and have wondered, they've heard that you are inactive right now, you have been injured or you're ill or whatever, and certainly we have not seen you on the Raw product in about 6 weeks, and I hope you will just expound a little bit as to what has been going on with William Regal, because it's a most interesting story, a story that I think you're doing quite well in overcoming.
Well, basically, a lot of people know when we went to India, I got sick, and I was violently ill for a few days there. And when I came back, I just never really felt well. But I really enjoyed wrestling with Lance, the tag team that we were in, and so it didn't carry over to the ring, and because I was wrestling a lot, I was training really hard, but I was just getting more and more run down. I got sick about 2 weeks before the last pay-per-view I was on, and I sort of couldn't shake it off. And on the day of the last pay-per-view, I started to swell up. My lower body started to swell everywhere, my waist and my legs and my ankles. I had the match that night. I got a concussion, but that was nothing to do with any of the other things that are going on. By the next day, I'd put, 15 or 20 pounds of water on. I was just holding it all in my body. And through going to several hospitals and doctors that were messing me around, I ended up in a hospital in Atlanta, and they found out that I had there'd been a problem with my heart, and it was fluttering and not beating. It was beating too fast, and it was on I believe the right side of my heart, and that was causing me to swell up. And so basically they had to give me an electric shock to stop my heart and start it again, and it's been perfectly normal ever since. But I can't wrestle for quite a while now because I have to stay on some medications, blood thinners and things, to make sure there's not a clot or anything develops. And so if I wrestle there, I've only got to just bang my hand and I get bruised up because of the blood thinners. But apart from that, I feel absolutely great. I'm back down to normal. I went up to 278. I think that one of the heaviest I was in hospital, and now I'm 2 weeks later, I'm 238 today.
So that was just excess from this
fluid, yeah, just like
Wow.
My heart wasn't pumping the blood around properly, and so I was just filling up with excess fluid.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, Mr. Regal, I'd like to wish you a speedy recovery, and can't wait to see you back here in the WWE. And secondly, what'd you think about WrestleMania? As we get back, to sports entertainment, your thoughts on WrestleMania and what you thought about the show.
I watched the show at home, and I thought it was great top to bottom, except for the catfight girls. But that was what it was. And you have to have those things. But I thought every match was great. It was just an incredible show. Probably, I would imagine, the best I've seen. I would think. I can't really think back to a show where there wasn't something that I thought could have been done better. But everything on that show looked tremendous.
Now, from your standpoint, sitting at home, William, and watching WrestleMania,
yes,
certainly you could be construed. I have two-part question. Did it pain you a little bit not to be there and perform out there? Because I know you relish the opportunity to go out there and perform. That's your life. And while at home, could you feel that you could be a critique? Because even though you're so close to the product, did you take some mental notes to yourself? Well, you mentioned the cat fight, of course, but did you take some notes on some of the matches where some of the things you thought were good, some weren't good, and possibly give your thoughts to those people?
I couldn't say that I could critique anything because I just sat and enjoyed the show, and that's the truth. I wouldn't say, if I had like with anything else, if I've got a problem with anybody's doing anything, I'll confront them about it and not, give them an opportunity to say something back. So I wouldn't actually tell you if I thought there was something wrong. But there honestly wasn't, as far as I was concerned. I just enjoyed the show from top to bottom. Did I miss being there? It's strange. People kept asking me, people were calling me a lot when I was in hospital and asking me how I felt. And from the moment I found out what was wrong with me, I've just felt very calm and peaceful. Because I knew there was something wrong the last few months. I've just not felt right, And so I was glad that they found out what it is, and now I'm just determined to get better. I'm back doing cardio for 45 minutes every day, and
that's terrific.
They've told me I can't lift any weights for a while, but I'm going to go back to the hospital.
Cardio's
I'm
good.
I'm
Well,
going
we
to ask them to see if I can start lifting a little bit. But I didn't miss being on the show.
Okay.
Until I went into hospital, I was sick. That I was sick in the sense that I was fed up that I couldn't be there. But just finding out that what was wrong with me, and I just took the attitude, well, it's no, like I do in the rest of my life. I don't have any regrets over even a lot of the bad things I've done,
Sure.
because if you live in the past, you die a little bit each day. So I believe in that philosophy, and I just thought, well, all I've got to do is get better. So I was sat there and enjoying it, making me want to get even, more determined to get better, so that I can get back. And I didn't, regret being there at all.
Tremendous attitude.
Or not being there.
Tremendous attitude. Well, hopefully we're going to get some phone calls here at 1-888-LIVE-WWE. William Regal is our guest. We invite you to call in, and I know Mr. Regal will be gracious enough to take your question. Josh, the one thing I feel, and I know we talked about this before this week's telecast, or webcast, if you will, is that, he being Mr. Regal, was a co-holder of the World Tag Team Championship. Chief Morley, sensing the injury and probably having respect for Mr. Regal, decided it really wouldn't be in the best interest not to have these tag team belts defended because of the incapacitation of Mr. Regal. And so what did he do? He adorned himself with the Tag Team Championship belt of the world, making himself a co-holder with Lance Storm. And William, I want to get your reaction on that and how you felt about that.
That didn't bother me one bit, to be honest, Howard. I mean, business is business, and you have to get on with whatever's needed to do the right thing for the show.
Okay.
Actually, I think Chief Morley's a great partner for Lance. And so, I obviously won't be wrestling for a while, so I think as much as I enjoyed wrestling with Lance, and hopefully I'll get to again pretty soon, if that's the way that they've got to go, that's the way they've got to go, I can't do anything about it. Like I say, it's no good sitting fretting about it and just, that's what they had to do for business. So.
No, absolutely, and I concur with you on that. And you seem to be hitting your stride. You seem to be hitting your stride very well with Lance. It was a great combination, a great mix. You guys just complemented each other tremendously. Which brings. Go ahead, Steve.
So I'm sorry. I've never felt as though I've hit my stride as a single wrestler in the WWE since I've been there. The things that I do well, I wrestle in a certain style, but to do that, I have to be wrestling people that know that style. And this is not knocking anybody, but there's only a handful of guys that know the stuff that I do. The guys that have, and it's all the guys that have traveled around the world and learned different styles. But the other thing that I do well is wrestle on house shows and be a great villain, And I found that since I've been in the WWE, I've never really hit my thing on television because, we work to the cameras and not to the people. Whereas I've spent all my career working to the people. I go back and watch some tapes of myself in WCW, and that's how I made a name for myself. Although I was wrestling a lot, I still involved the crowd a lot in the matches, and it just took off from there. So. I think working with Lance, I definitely started. I enjoyed it on house shows, and how you were there. We were just tearing it up everywhere.
No question.
And still on TV at first, we were slowly building into it, and a lot of people weren't sure what we were doing. We were doing different things people weren't expecting. But I was really getting to the point where I thought and knowing and being around this business as long as I have. When something's right, and the chemistry's right. It's like the first time I ever wrestled Fit Finlay or I wrestled Chris Benoit, there's just something there. And tagging with Lance, there was something special there. And it's just a matter of, if we get back there, then that's great. If not, then, I've got a lot of time at home to sit and think about how eventually I'd like to, when I get back in the ring, how I can start performing better.
It will do well. We do have a phone call for you, Mr. Regal, and it's Jamie from California. Jamie, welcome to Bite This. This is your opportunity to talk to William Regal.
Hi, Steve. I just want you to know that I'm definitely behind you 110% regarding what you're going through right now. I'm actually gone through it myself.
Oh.
I'm 30 years old, and I've actually had 2 of those procedures done. So I definitely know what you're going through, and I'm definitely be praying for you to a great deal.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want you to know that you're an awesome wrestler when I watch you, and I know you'll be back hopefully sooner than later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very kind of you, Jamie. You got something
Yes,
for
thank you.
Mr. Real before we depart?
Yeah, I heard him talking about working for the fans and wrestling in front of the fans, and it reminded me of a match that I once watched yours that is still one of my favorite matches of all time. It was when you wrestled with Chris Benoit at the Brian Pillman Memorial Show.
All right, yeah.
And hearing you talk about working in front of the fans, and that was...
Well, that was actually an exception where it was just, that is strange because people talk about that match, and it was no better than any of the other matches that we've ever had. In fact, I think we've had better. But the crowd was just, it was incredible that night. But that's one of the times when I actually didn't work to the crowd. The crowd just reacted in the right way. Mm-hmm. As I say, with certain people, Chris Benoit's one of them, Eddie Guerrero's another, and Fit Finlay and people, the wrestling itself speaks for itself because we just, I always look at Eddie and I look at Chris and I wish they had the talent that they have to be able to wrestle with anybody and have a great match. I mean, and I'm very, understanding that I don't have that. I'm sort of if I'm not doing the things that I do well, I'm basically your backbone kind of guy that you have in a company that, you can rely on and just go out there and have a decent match. Not always the best, but it's going to be a decent match. Not going to stink the joint out. And I like to think of myself sort of as a today's version of an Arn Anderson or someone that you can put in any spot and just who can talk and do a decent job or a good job most of the time.
Well,
and so that's basically with Chris Benoit. You don't have to involve the crowd. The crowd will get into it because the actual wrestling is good.
No question about it. Well, Steve, William, whatever we call you a tremendous competitor, a very determined human being, and someone who, when the opportunity presents itself again, that you get into the squared circle here in WWE, I think we're going to see a William Regal better than ever, don't you, Josh?
Can't wait to see it either.
Well, I hope everything goes well for you on your recovery, and all the best to you, William, and from there, we'll just have to look forward with great anticipation to your return back to the rings of WWE, and it cannot come soon enough, the way I feel.
Oh, thank you, Howard.
All right. All the best, and I'll be talking with you for sure.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr.
Thank you very
Regal.
much.
Bye-bye.
William Regal. He's been through so much, and he continues to go through a lot, and it's got to be debilitating, Josh, because you sit at home, you can't go out there and do what you want to do and love what you want to do, and it just has to eat him up. And it was so funny because when I was on that tour of India, and we were all told, don't eat anything, be careful what you eat, don't drink the water. You just have to be very careful. Walk on eggshells as far as the food is concerned, and we did try a little bit, and unfortunately, he felt that that's where it all happened. That was where the genesis of it was.
Yeah, and it's too bad that he's going to be out, and he doesn't even know how long he's going to be out. That's the same with Kurt Angle, who was recently just left SmackDown. He had surgery today. So the best of luck to Kurt Angle. Can't wait to see him back in the ring either. But you never know how long it's going to be.
You never know when your career is going to come to a halt or a temporary halt or what have you.
Brock Lesnar almost saw it at WrestleMania.
Well, sure. With Brock's situation, he came right back, and he's better than ever. But in Mr. Regal's situation, I'm sure tomorrow he'd like to jump back in the ring if he could. But he's also smart enough to know that it's not going to be overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I feel firmly convinced that whether you like Mr. Regal or you don't like Mr. Regal, when the time comes and he gets back in that squared circle, I think he's going to be better than ever. He's a great, great technical wrestler. Once again, we want to remind you of this week's Outthink the Think question at Piper's Pit. The clips that we showed last night on SmackDown. Frankie Williams was interviewed. There was a Piper's Pit from the 80s. Frankie Williams mentioned the town that he was from and the state that he was from. And all I want to know is what was the town and state that Frankie Williams was from. And if you do know that, then you can email us at bitethis@wwe.com, and all the answers that are correct will be pooled, and the one answer that we do pull out will win a Hardy Boys book. And just make sure you put your address in there, too. Are you sure you know it?
Sure, I know the answer. Yes, sir.
Okay, well...
Do you want me to write it down and show it to you?
No. We'll let you reveal the answer then at the end of the program, okay?
Oh, I didn't think I had to give away the answer. All right, I think I know it.
All right. Well, that's cool. Well, now, Josh, we're going to put you to the acid test, okay? It is put up or shut up, because our guest at this time surprised the entire wrestling world. The WWE was shocked because a week ago yesterday on SmackDown, completely out of the blue, one of the original divas came back to her haunt, came back to SmackDown. And certainly she was the very first individual who had the pleasure of showing her stuff, per se, on the pages of Playboy magazine. She's back, and I am most interested in talking to her because there's got to be a lot going through her mind over these last 8 days. We welcome to Bite This the beautiful and gorgeous Sable. Sable, it's Howard, Josh Matthews. Welcome to Bite This.
Well, hello, guys. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, Sable. It's our pleasure indeed.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. And you know, I, in my wildest dreams, Sable, would never have thought I would be saying this to you, just considering things that have happened over the past few years and how things do change and how you never say never in this industry. And I want to put you right into the frying pan on the very first question. Did you ever think that Sable would ever grace the squared circle of World Wrestling Entertainment again? And tell us how this all came about.
Well, Howard, I think you summed it all up. In this business, you never say never. I certainly hoped that one day I would be able to return. And, you know, Vince and I put our differences aside, put the past behind us, and we decided to move forward. It was the best for the company and the fans. So I am very excited to be back.
Well, I think we're all excited to have
We're
her
all
back.
excited to have you back. And the way you came back on SmackDown last week, just completely out of the blue, but with a purpose, because here was Tori Wilson, who, of course, is the current WWE diva who has graced the pages of Playboy. And it was her coming out party, per se. And here she was so proud, so happy to be sharing her excitement with the multitudes of fans in the arena and on television. And completely out of left field, you came in. Some people will argue that you crashed the party. I'm sure you have a different take on it.
Well, you know what? There is plenty of room in the WWE for more than one diva. And it was just my opportunity to come back, and I felt that that was the perfect time to make my appearance. And at the same time, you know, she's a Playboy centerfold playmate, and I just felt like, you know, I would be there to support her.
Well,
Yeah, well, anyway, Sable, I mean, you've been gone for, you know, about a 4.5-year absence, and now you're back. The locker room has changed completely. What's it like being on SmackDown? You know, how's everyone treating you? What's it like being back on the road? All that great stuff.
and how did you adapt, and what was the reaction of the SmackDown roster, per se, when you did come back last week?
Well, I think it's safe to say that a lot of people were very surprised to see Sable back. But I really feel very welcome there. I feel like the roster has definitely changed. I feel like the locker room is a very comfortable place to be. And I just felt extremely welcomed and comfortable and just very happy to be back.
Well, again, you've certainly turned some heads since your arrival. And I would like to ask you, of course, when you were here in your first tenure, certainly you were involved from a standpoint with Mark Merrow. And, of course, you know, that is your real-life husband, of course, as we know. And I'd like to know what Mark is up to these days, because we certainly have not seen his name as of late in the wrestling scene. I'm sure he's doing some stuff out of wrestling. And if I know Mark like I do, he's being very successful at it.
Well, yes, he is. He's extremely successful. He is continuing to stay very busy. He's certainly helping me in my career. I've been doing a lot of things in the entertainment business, and he pretty much oversees all that for me. Mm-hmm. He's also working on some projects of his own right now, so yes, he stays extremely busy.
Well, that's very good. We're hoping to take some phone calls here for Sable at 1-888-LIVE-WWE. Our chat room is active too, Sable. We have a question from Mark Sue, and this is very interesting, and I'll read this. It says, ask Sable if she has any plans to jump to Raw after she finishes her business with Tori Wilson, and would she like to challenge for the WWE Women's Championship? Wow, that's a lot in such a short period of time.
You know, at this time, I'm going to stay put on SmackDown. I feel like that is where I could be utilized the best. And, you know, there is always an opportunity for me to go after the title again. I mean, once a women's champion, you always feel that drive to succeed a second time.
Okay.
You know, and think if you're going to want to be on a show, you're going to want to be on SmackDown.
I'm sorry?
If you're going to want to be on a show, you're going to want to be on SmackDown anyway.
That's right. I'm very happy where I am, and for the time being, I'm staying put.
I think Josh is trying to score some points here because I tried to press him earlier in the telecast here, Sable, about if the opportunity were presented to come to Raw, because I'm affiliated with Raw, and he's affiliated with SmackDown, so, you know, I think he's playing both ends against the middle right now. I'll talk to you about that later. We have a phone call.
I would have to just interject here and say that since I am a part of SmackDown, I would absolutely have to agree with Josh.
All right, well, let's
go.
It's 2-0, and I better quit while I'm ahead.
And we got Taz still coming up a little bit later on.
Oh, man.
Now, Howard,
yeah.
you know you can't win against a woman, so.
No, I guess not. We have Kyle from Massachusetts, Sable, on the phone, and I'm sure he would like to ask you a question. Kyle, welcome to Bite This. This is your one-on-one opportunity that you've dreamed of with Sable.
Hey, Fink.
Hello, how are you?
All right. A few weeks ago, Sable, you kissed Tori Wilson. Are there any other WWE divas you'd like to get a taste of?
Well, let's just say that Sable is Sable-licious, so it may be them that want to get a taste of me.
Oh, well, Josh, you all right?
I am. It's getting a little hot in here, Fink, to say the least.
Not a problem. Sable, while you were inactive from WWE programming and rings and promotional opportunities, did you keep your finger on the pulse of the industry? I know you had a brief little fling, literal fling with WCW, and of course, your career certainly went into different directions, all good ones. Did you keep your finger on the pulse of this particular organization at all before you made your return? And also tell us what you did in that interim.
You know, I did continue to watch wrestling. I think once you're a part of it, you always feel a need to continue to keep up with it, even though maybe not as much as I would have had I been part of the show. But yeah, the product is just unbelievable now. The production value that's put into it is amazing, and you know, it's probably the best it's ever been. Mm-hmm. But yes, I did continue to pursue my acting career. I had an opportunity to shoot 4 different movies. Some videos, commercials, advertising, continued my modeling career and did some promotional work. So in the past 4 years, I stayed extremely busy and at the same time, you know, had the opportunity to follow wrestling. And once I knew that I would be making my return, I certainly tuned in to see what was going on.
Well, again, I think it's a win-win situation for everyone involved that you have returned to grace the great organization known as World Wrestling Entertainment. We have another question here for the chat room. Of course, it's from Cool Real. I think that's what it says. It says, how does Sable feel about coming back and not being the only diva in the WWE? And let's face it, Sable, you were definitely preeminent the first time you were here. Now there's a bunch of people. Does that challenge you more to perhaps go to become a top spot again? Or are you just content to take it one day at a time? There are more divas than there were when you were here the first time, admittedly.
Yes, there are, and you know, I think that that's good for the women's division as a whole. Mm-hmm. I think the company has realized how much the women do bring to the company. And yes, I am not the only diva in there at this time. I was not the only diva in there last time, but I certainly am always up for the challenge.
The divas have gotten a lot more physical since Sable's first run here. I mean, you look at like Lita, who actually broke her neck performing a move while on a TV set, you know.
Absolutely.
And then you got Nydia, who loves to get in the ring, and Tori Wilson in there. So, Sable, I guess my question is, are you planning on getting into the ring, you know, and getting physical with these other divas?
Right now, I'm just going to take it one day at a time. I'm not really sure where I hope for my career to go. Just one day at a time. I'm just very glad at this point to be back. And, you know, I'm not really sure whether I want to be in the wrestling ring again or if I just want to possibly manage someone or maybe take it in a different direction. But, you know, like I mentioned earlier to Howard, once you've been the women's champion, it's very hard not to want to go after that title again.
I think, Sable, that now that you're back in WWE, I'm sure your mental plate, that is full with many different ideas and thoughts, because one of the beauties about the great superstars that we have here in WWE, you know, they have a lot of creativity within them. And if I know Sable like I do, I'm sure that she has some creative thoughts also that she hopes to, in time, I'm sure, bring out, which hopefully will make for everybody to enjoy the product even more. And on the line now, who called us at 1-888-LIVE-WWE, we have Tom from Maryland. Tom, did you ever think you'd be talking to Sable?
Never in a million years, and Sable, it's good to talk to you.
Well, thank you. It's good to talk to you.
I had a question for you because you were kind of specific maybe 4 years ago about who and did what to you and why you left the WWE. And I'm sure some of those guys and people who will remain unnamed are still around. Are you kind of, for lack of a better word, trying to avoid them, or are you trying to, make bygones be bygones?
I think the only way to, face up to any situation is to take it head on. I don't think avoiding a situation is ever a good way to handle it. I don't believe that I ever mentioned any specific names or any specific events that happened. I just said that, that there were some things that happened at the time where I felt like it was best that I leave. And, it was time for me to pursue some other things, so that's what I chose to do. And fortunately, when I decided to come back, everybody was extremely open and accepted me back. And if there are those who, may have other opinions that I am unaware of at this time, I hope to prove myself once again and show them that I am definitely committed and dedicated to this.
Sable, what kind of a rush was it for you last week when you did walk out in front of the live audience in Spokane, Washington? Did the butterflies flow pretty freely backstage before you went out? And then when you got out there and it was all there again, what was going through your mind? Give us your thoughts.
Oh, Howard, I can't even begin to tell you what an overwhelming feeling that was. The anticipation of even walking out, on the stage through those curtains, just moments before your music play, you certainly have the butterflies, and I think that's always a great thing to have, are the nerves. It keeps you at the top of your game. But once I finally did walk through the curtains and heard my music play, the reception that I felt from the fans was just overwhelming. It's, one of the aspects that I missed more than anything else about the business was performing in front of the live audience. When you do film work or television, you don't get that instant gratification. And you do it over and over and over again, and sometimes it just loses its spontaneity. But performing in front of a live audience, just such an overwhelming experience that you definitely miss it.
And how does it feel working for Stephanie McMahon?
She is quite the lady.
Exactly.
She is so extremely nice and so easy to talk to and to express yourself to. And if you have opinions or feelings or thoughts on something, she is certainly there to listen to you, and she certainly has great advice. And so far it's been wonderful, and I just really hope for our relationship to grow and continue.
Take another phone call here. We have another question. I know Josh has a question. He's been waiting to ask you this since he knew you were coming on today.
What's that, Howard?
What did we talk about earlier?
We talked about the issues of Playboy and stuff like that.
I asked you who had the better photo issue of Playboy.
Right.
Was it Sable or was it Tori Wilson?
Yeah, and I told you I'm not allowed to read Playboy.
You're not allowed to read Playboy. My foot, you're not allowed to read Playboy. What are you, under 18?
Well, no, I told you I have a girlfriend and she doesn't allow me to read the Playboys.
Playboy magazine is a very good
you got to choose a woman that's more confident in herself.
Well, no, I'm just trying.
Thank you, Sable.
I'm just trying to avoid the question here.
I know you're doing that. That's why I'm saying to you shouldn't be putting the blame off on her.
Right. Well, I enjoyed both the issues, Howard. And all three, the WWE divas who've done this, and I enjoyed them all. I actually have them all under my, in my room, and I read them all the time. I'm cover to cover. I got all the articles and everything memorized as well.
All right. I think he's trying to be nice, Sable. Everybody.
That's the most political way to answer that question, and it's a safe way, and I can certainly understand his point of view there.
Well, he's being very diplomatic, and you're absolutely right. It's politically correct.
That's right.
Certainly, Sable, your reemergence here in WWE, it was a shock. It was a surprise. But then they say that, surprises generally are good, and it was good. And there's no doubt in my mind that now that Sable is back, and what was that you said last week, Sable, if you want to reiterate those words about the women and the men, some like you and some don't?
No, they all like me, Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Sable always comes out to say, this is for all the women who still want to be me, and for all the men who come to see me.
Words were never spoken, that is for sure. Sable, we want to take this opportunity to thank you for your time today here on Bite This. We'd like to extend an opportunity for you to join us again in the future, because I think in the weeks to come, we've just seen the beginning of the emergence of Sable, and I think there's going to be a lot more to see as time goes on. And Sable, from a personal standpoint, I'm delighted you're back. You've always been a pro, and there's no question that I think this is going to be a good one for you this time out.
Well, thank you very much, Howard. I am very excited to be back, and I think when Sable left, she was just starting to find her stride, and I can definitely say Sable is back.
Right on, and the cool thing is tomorrow night on Confidential, we can see more about the surprising return.
Oh yes, tomorrow is
SmackDown.
That's right. Tomorrow night at 11:10 Central on the new TNN.
Right after that show comes on, right after Velocity.
The Ernest Miller Show, yeah.
Whoa,
okay.
Howard!
It's the Ernest the Cat Miller Show featuring Josh Matthews.
I guess you've never seen the show.
Who's the top banana? Sable, we look forward to that interview on Confidential. Can you just give us, as Josh reminded us, just give us a little sampling of what we can expect tomorrow on that interview?
Well, basically, I just discussed my reason for leaving and my reason for returning and what I hope to accomplish on my return, and how excited I am to be back. And
I think that's all you should say. Let them tune in tomorrow.
Okay.
And find out. Sable, look forward to seeing you in the upcoming week. And again, welcome back. We're glad you're here.
Well, thank you very much. You guys have a great evening.
You too, Sable. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Sable. Boy, are you! I tell you what, they should name a television show. You should host a what's it called? Politically correct? Incorrect?
I think it's politically incorrect. Is the
Today was politically correct.
Right.
For you.
Well, I like to stay, right on the line right there, Howard.
All right. Listen, I'm hoping we can put that clip up of Piper's Pit. We're going to try and get Taz on the phone. We have bonus time of Bite. Yeah, Taz wasn't here last week.
No, I wasn't here either.
I know. Well, we're going to see we're trying to get Taz on the line because he wasn't with us last week. I think he's going to be surprised to know that you're here this week.
I can't wait.
And I'm going to really put the boots to you.
Yeah, right.
Him.
And here in the new WWE magazine, I'm not sure if this is on stands yet, though, Howard. I don't know if you've checked this out. It's all about the ride from hell that Taz, Michael Cole, and myself
We're going to talk
took.
about this, okay? We're definitely going to talk about it. So if we can get our cameras to look at this article. There was an article in the new issue of the WWE magazine. Taz writes a column every week, and I can see that the chroma key works very well here. This is the ride from hell, and this took place during the blizzard. And,
the worst blizzard that New York City's ever seen in about 25 years.
I know, and I believe Taz is on the line now.
Just a minute.
Oh, he's not on the line yet. Okay, but this is the WWE magazine, The Ride from Hell. It's definitely out, and Josh, I'm going to let Taz talk a little bit about it. Hey, Taz, Howard's on the phone with Boy Wonder here, Josh Matthews. What's going on?
What's going on? It's like a Raw SmackDown thing, Josh is SmackDown, and right, great.
Taz, what's going on the hook? You always have something to tell us. I know it's a lousy day.
Oh, it's miserable. It's just another day in the hook, crime, violence, kids going to school,
Even in the rain, huh?
Oh yeah, no, the rain you could do a lot more stuff because people don't see you as good. Like it's dark over here, you know what I mean?
Sliding midgets across, the street and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't know, yeah. I mean, the midgets, you can do a lot of fun things with them too. I'm sure there's other people who could offend. Let's talk about the Mexicans.
Oh man, Taz, this is the first. This is
the Howard. Oh man.
Taz, this is the first time I had to sit down with Boy Wonder here and work with him. You should have prepped me on this guy.
Well, he's good.
He's politically incorrect.
Well, he travels with Michael Cole and myself. He learned from the best.
Well, we're going to talk about a few things. I'm glad you joined us this week because you are the eyes and ears for Bite This for SmackDown, and last night's program just absolutely kicked butt. And
yeah.
let's first of all talk about what I thought was probably the most controversial thing on the show, and that was the return of Piper's Pit. Certainly a fixture some 20 years ago. Certainly a fixture now on SmackDown. I want to get your reaction on Piper's Pit, the return of Roddy, Mr. McMahon, and then the sudden appearance of Rikishi and the deja vu all over again.
Well, I think Piper's Pit was, I remember watching it when I was, a little tyke, like Josh. And I was a fan of it. I remember when he beat up Frankie Williams and he hit Snooker with the Schnabitz. I remember that. But I never thought that I'd be, as a kid, sitting watching Piper's Pit in the hook and then go through a career of my own for 15 years as an active wrestler and then sit ringside next to a dweeb and call Piper's Pit and with Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon and Piper in the ring as an adult who just basically is retired from the ring.
Are you
And
happy?
it's back. Does that make sense what I'm saying here?
It does. Are you glad it's a part of SmackDown based on the first episode last night?
Say that again, Howard?
Are you glad that it's a part of SmackDown? Will it help SmackDown a little bit?
I think so. I mean, I think it'll help SmackDown. I think it's nostalgic. You know, I really do. I mean, it was a great segment in WWE history television, and Piper obviously still can go on the mic.
No question, Taz.
I mean,
no question.
physically, I mean, you know, Piper's pouch. Well, that, you never know.
Yeah.
Got to put on a few pounds, but haven't we all, Howard?
But that's why that's why he's got Sean O'Hare.
What about him?
That's why Piper's got Sean O'Hare, because
exactly,
maybe Piper can't go.
Josh, do me a favor.
Yeah.
This is we're in public now. Don't talk to me.
Don't.
Don't. Just
Wait,
be quiet. Just
my
let
phone.
Howard talk.
Taz,
Shut up.
my phone's ringing.
What a shock!
Oh, and boy, you should have seen how he was trying to maneuver with Sable here before you came on.
Oh, he's trying to. Oh, really? Well, that's Josh. You gotta watch him. Believe me, he'll build a fence. Back will drop down, build a fence.
One thing one thing, Taz, I've always believed in, and I've been with this great organization for a long time, is you never forget what brought you to the dance.
I know.
And I'm a huge fan of nostalgia, and good nostalgia, as long as it's done right. And arguably, Taz, Piper's Pit was one of the premier segments back in the 80s. And to have it come full circle now, you're going to generate a brand new audience of fans. The fans that are still with us steadfastly are going to be very happy about it. And it's great that we've picked a picture of Ronnie on our screen right now, circa 1983. But this is how our staff works here, Taz. You know?
Well, yeah, I know. Our staff, they work digitally. Is that the word, digitally?
Diligently.
Yeah, that too. They work with,
digitally. They work digitally too.
They're always working.
But you saw that there was a little bit of bad blood between Mr. McMahon and Piper last night, and then they disagreed to agree a little bit too.
Yeah, I know. It's I mean, there was some. They had a lot of interesting comments there. I mean, I was laughing. I mean, it was something to see. I don't know. I wouldn't want to go one-liners with Vince. You know, he's pretty quick, and Piper's quick. So there was some stuff there. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, Piper's Pit. I think Josh should be the next guest on Piper's Pit.
What would you call it? Josh's jaunt?
No. Piper has Josh as a guest.
I think
then he can have Ernest
the camera
Miller
right
on
there,
too.
Josh.
Ernest Miller is Josh's his partner on Velocity.
Right.
Just imagine that, Ernest Miller in the ring with Piper.
I don't know what Josh would do. I know one thing, though.
I know what the public would do.
Yes. That's why we make remote controls, right? Okay. All right. Well, very good. On another note, knowing that Rikishi came in, he waited 20 years to do what he had to do, and it wound up just, not going the way it had to go, thanks to Mr. Sean O'Hare. I'm kind of interested to see Sean O'Hare now, go where he has to go, because I really think this is one blue chip prospect.
Well, Sean O'Hare, I think, is a blue chip prospect, no doubt. He's got all the tools, the size, the look, the hair, the whole deal, the goatee, the body, the abs. He's tall enough. So, yeah, I think he's got it.
No question.
He's got what it takes. And, Sean O'Hare, he might go where no man has boldly gone before.
That's for sure. Speaking of going somewhere, Taz,
what?
Where are we going with the championship, the final match of the tournament, to determine the #1 contender for the WWE Championship, who will face Brock Lesnar at Backlash? Is it going to be John Cena, or is it going to be Chris Benoit? Give us your thoughts on both matches last night, the semifinals.
I'm supposed to be biased, but I gotta go with Benoit. I think Benoit's got the experience. Both Benoit and Cena are in tremendous condition. Two different styles, though. Chris has got that mat style, that submission style, that ever intense style. Cena talk trash to you, try and get in your head before the matchup. Benoit's not big on someone getting in his head. Benoit, you can't psych him out. Mm-hmm. That's not the way Chris works. So, I got to go with Benoit on this one, but I do think John Cena is on the rise. I think John Cena is one of those guys, as Brock Lesnar, obviously, is the future of SmackDown and possibly the industry. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of John Cena's work. I think he's extremely talented. I'm not even a big hip-hop rap fan, but Cena, I mean, how do you not be impressed with this kid? I mean, he's entertaining as all hell. He looks great. He's put together, and he's a tough kid. He's a tough dude, so he can go. You know what I mean?
I got you on that one. I'm just looking at our chat room. Nobody has... Taz...
You guys actually have a room where people chat in it?
Absolutely.
But it's like a room where people just sit and they talk. Like, hey,
Taz,
how are you? How you doing?
Yeah,
I'm all right. You all right?
That's it. We have a chat room, not for nothing. got two other points to make before we ask you about
You do, huh?
Yes, a dull point and a big point.
Well, when we're done, I'm going to the head.
Okay, that sounds cool to me. Taz, we get this in our chat room every so often, and I know you get this question, I'm sure, in everyday life. Are you planning?
Why am I not taller? That's the
well,
question.
no. Are you any plans on wrestling again?
Oh, please, Howard, haven't we covered this one?
I've not covered it since I've been here
times.
with you.
Excuse me?
I've not been here but for 3 weeks again, so I've not covered it with you.
I miss you too, Howard.
There you go.
Taz is done. That's it. Thanks, hell of a run. That's it. Thanks for coming. He's a color commentator now.
All right.
I'm sorry for all those people that would love to see me wrestle again. I appreciate it, but I really enjoy my second career, my new career as an announcer. I'm still learning. I'm trying to get better. I love working with my partner, Michael Cole. I wouldn't want to change my career. I'm very happy with it right now. Sometimes I do miss wrestling, but I, too, like a lot of guys, have had injuries have piled up on me, and my body's at a point where it's, I want to be able to walk when I'm getting a little older. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of reasons why I'm not in the ring anymore, and to be quite frank, they're all my choices. I just I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I want to concentrate completely on announcing, and the WWE is been great with that.
Well, Taz, in my estimation, you are also fulfilling something that I think maybe you wanted to do, and that is do something in wrestling after wrestling.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is the epitome of a lot of people in this industry. Once you get involved in this great industry that we're in, it is awfully hard to get it out of your system.
It's a drug,
It really is. And I've checked, Josh, I think, how long have you been in this industry now?
About 15 minutes.
Okay,
going on 16.
And you can see how drugged up he is, huh?
Yeah, he's shot.
But my point is, Taz, sometimes you get lucky and you latch on to it. And
well, now you're calling me lucky, so now I didn't earn it. That's what you're saying, right?
No, I'm not. Let me make my point.
Okay.
Sometimes you get lucky and you're at right place and right time.
Yes.
Sometimes you work so hard in your craft and you want to give more and you show people.
Did you say sometimes you work hard in your crotch?
No, I said sometimes you work hard in your craft.
Oh,
okay?
craft.
You work extremely hard in your craft, and you show people that you want to pursue and continue, and people stand up and take notice, and you reap the benefits. And all kidding aside, Taz, I'm really thrilled for you on your embarking on this announcing career, because you and Michael have done a bang-up job.
Yeah, well, you know how much I've wanted to do this once I started doing it. When I initially started the announcing thing, I wasn't into it. This is, a couple years back when I started doing Sunday Night Heat with Michael Cole, I wanted to wrestle, and I did both. I wrestled and announced, but I just wanted to wrestle, and that lasted for about 3-4 months. And then I started getting into it, like, hey, I have a future here, and this is something that's different, and I think I could be good at it. And when I first started, I really wasn't that good. Mm-hmm. I think now I'm learning. I'm getting the hang of it. I got a lot of people helping me. I learned a ton from Michael Cole. I learned from Kevin Kelly when he was here, God rest his soul.
Mm-hmm. And this guy to my left here, Matthews, has got a lot to offer, too.
Well, he's got a lot to offer. I've learned a lot from Vince McMahon. I learned a lot from Kevin Dunn. I learned a lot from JR. I mean, I have. I really have. And anybody who has any advice from me, I listen to. And I think now I'll get off my soapbox. But, yeah, I think Josh has got a big-time future. I think Josh has come a long way. Cole, too. Michael Cole's teaching Josh a lot. I mean, and Cole, I've said this on his show many times, I feel is completely underrated. I'm a big fan of Michael Cole's work and his work ethic. Anybody who knows him personally understands how hard that man really works and how passionate he is about the boys and the business.
No question. Taz, it's a team. It's teamwork, and teamwork equals results.
Hey, Howard, you know what they say, right? There's no I in team, for God's sake.
Absolutely. Got a couple other points this week, Taz. We have a couple other things to broach with you here.
Okay. I guess you're just trying to kill some time.
No, this is bonus time. We're delighted to have you here today.
All right.
Josh and I'm
on a boat right now, actually.
Where are you, out in the East River?
Well, I'm out in the East. I'm out by the water over here, by Long Island area in the region.
Coney Island, or?
I'm in the Atlantic. Yeah, I'm between Coney Island and Long Island.
All right. Well, if you stop at Nathan's,
big boat, you know what I mean?
If you stop at Nathan's, get one for me, okay?
Nathan's, what a match he had.
I'm telling you. But I'm pumped. I want to ask you point blank. What are your thoughts on the FBI?
Oh, kidding me? FBI? Well, they had a little problem with my family years ago, but things have straightened out.
Okay.
Oh, you mean Guido? I mean Nunzio.
Yeah.
I love it. I seen the first FBI in ECW. Now this is the new and improved FBI. I mean the full-blooded Italians. These guys they're on the money. I think they really are flirting with disaster by messing with Undertaker and costing Undertaker a match against John Cena, a number one contenders tournament match. I think that's career suicide for Nunzio, Palumbo, and Stromboli. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. We'll see what happens on SmackDown this week. I got other stuff.
All right, now the creme de la creme of this conversation.
Yeah.
The latest issue of the WWE magazine talks about the ride, okay? Now, there was a ride last year, but now there's a new ride this year. Taz, I'm going to let you give your comments, and I'll let Josh have the floor as well.
Wait, Howard, what was the ride last year? I don't remind me. I can't remember.
Oh, man, you remember the plane ride.
Oh, I wasn't on that one, though.
No, I was. And,
well, you know.
But it probably pales in comparison to the ride that you three took. Three amigos.
Yeah, this was, well, first of all, the ride was long. That's pretty obvious. It was a learning experience for Michael Cole and Josh. And I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it was a hell of a ride, and Josh drove the whole way. I give the kid credit. Well, I kept offering to drive. Cole said, "No, you two need to drive me around. I'm a star."
Well, they drove you crazy, though, didn't they?
None. What?
They drove you crazy, though.
Yeah, yeah, the music, not really Josh Cole. He kind of has a different taste, more of a feminine feel for music. Like he kind of listens to stuff that my mom listens to, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way. When I'm on the road to wrestling business, I don't want to hear the stuff my mom listens in the kitchen. You know what I mean? The Abbas and the Bee Gees and the Humperdinks. Not
Hart.
a hell of a Humperdink.
Hart, big Hart fan too.
Big Hart fan, loves Hart. Trains on his treadmill. Remember that one morning at the one hotel, Josh went to the fitness room at that hotel?
Yeah, he was in there crying on the treadmill because he was listening to Hart.
He was, and he had the headset on. He's in tears. What about love? And he's crying. Unbelievable. He's a sicko.
Well, did this guy to my left get the proper indoctrination in the rules of the road during that trip?
Cole and I, we were talking about driving, and Josh was like, let's do it. I'll drive it. And we...
This was during the big blizzard that we had back in the Northeast in February. And seriously, props, everybody, I was so impressed. I mean, it's your job. You'll say we had to be there. But, you got in the car and you drove from the New York area. And I understand you had to bribe the guy at the car rental counter to get... There
was a little discussion. We took care of the guy a little bit. Cole was trying to work out the angle. And once Cole was going to get us a Yugo, to drive across country in the snow.
Savinovich?
Yeah. No, not Yugo.
And, where am I going?
And, then I interjected, and next thing you know, we got to navigate it. What a shock.
And who sprung for the meals?
Well, I think Cole and I, Josh, you didn't really pay for nothing, did you?
No, the best was, though, we stopped somewhere. I don't remember quite where it was, but Taz said, Josh, I got yours. He said, Michael Cole, I'm not paying for your dinner.
I got him so bad. Remember that?
and then Cole said, I paid for everything this whole trip, and you wouldn't even buy me dinner. Taz goes, no. Cole goes, I only got $5. Taz goes, well, get $5 worth of food.
I'm sure the best part of that whole ride was when you got to Indianapolis, because it was over.
Yeah, well, no, we had a lot of fun. I mean, I got to be honest. We had to do it all over again. I think I'd do it again, as long as I wasn't driving. But Josh also showed me that he's got a little mental problem on the road. If anybody read the article, the road rage situation, Josh has a problem with people that pass him in their cars. I don't mean cut him off, just pass him.
Wow, was there any good parts on this trip?
Listening to Cole talk about his days in Bosnia and Sarajevo, wherever he was, Savio Vago. Where was he, Josh? What war was he in?
He was all over. The Gulf War, Iraq, everywhere.
Yeah, well, he did the whole deal and the whole tour, and talked about. He was telling us about the foxholes he was getting shot at, and he's a war guy, but he's not an army guy. He was a guy with a tape recorder. You know what I mean?
Sounds like it was painful, Taz, but you weathered the storm as always.
Well, Josh will tell people. I mean, Cole will tell people that I was telling about every town we're in. I was telling an ECW story where I defeated a guy, which wasn't really true, which was half the town.
Oh, man.
But, that's it. But, you know what they say, right?
What is that?
So that's that.
Well, that is that. Hey, Taz, thanks very much for joining us this week, as
Hey,
always.
All right.
And we'll be back next week, and I do want to ask, as I do when I'm in this chair, what can we expect in Tales from the Hook next week?
Absolutely nothing.
All right, Taz.
Well,
Take
I
care.
hope I can confuse everyone a little bit more next week, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Taz, later. Thanks very much.
See you at the gym or the other joint.
Bye, Taz.
All right. I'll tell you, Josh, I think you got a quick indoctrination in this great travel situation that we have with him.
Oh, it was great. The article said, I think Taz wrote my retort in here about, what's it say? It was a wonderful trip. I enjoyed driving Taz cross country, and I'd do it again anytime, and that's the absolute truth. I did have a great time, and I would do it any time.
And let us not forget, when we're showing the WWE magazine, we can get our camera to shoot this. This is the forthcoming issue of the brand new Raw magazine, and on the cover is Triple H. Cameraman, zoom it. Well, I guess he's not going to zoom it, but that's okay.
Right.
This is the new issue of the Raw magazine with Triple H on the cover. It's going to be forthcoming, and we look forward to you guys taking a look at it. Check it out. Okay, from there, I think we have a winner now on the Outthink to Think. We're gonna show the clip, and we'll find out who the winner is, I hope, as well. So here it is again, Outthink to Think for this week, Piper's Pit. We showed some clips from Piper's Pit's past. One of the clips we showed was of an individual by the name of Frankie Williams. Frankie Williams said he was from a town and state. I wanted to know the town and state. If you're watching SmackDown or have a great memory, you'll remember this. Right?
Absolutely.
What do we get, a flashback of Taz and Michael there?
I guess that's why they call him Hot Rod, huh?
I guess. Well, I'll tell you what. That slogan, that catchphrase, just when you think they have all the answers, I change the questions, holds so true today. And that was a classic moment. I remember that vividly. Frank Williams from Columbus, Ohio, and you did know the answer.
I did know the answer.
And we have a winner, don't we, Josh?
Yes, we do. The winner is J.D. Largent from San Antonio, Texas.
J.D., congratulations. You're going to be getting a Hardy Boys book sent out through the WWE. Compliments of Bite This. Congratulations. And we'll hopefully have another Outthink to Think question next week.
I can't wait.
Well, it's going to be
version 1.
It's going to be version 1. It's going to be great. And, of course, what we want to do is we want to let everybody know what's going on with the travels and tours of WWE. We'll give you where Raw and SmackDown are going to be over this next week. Tomorrow, Raw goes to Roanoke, Virginia. I'll be there. I'm looking forward to getting down to Roanoke at the Roanoke Civic Center. And then also SmackDown will be in Daytona Beach tomorrow night, Daytona Beach, Florida, at the Ocean Center. Then on Sunday, Raw heads to the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Virginia, and SmackDown will go to Montgomery, Alabama, at the Montgomery Civic Center. So you never go on the road, Josh. You never make these gigs. You know, you have to.
No, house shows.
Yeah, that's what they call them. You know what they are?
I have no idea.
House shows. There's a reason. I'll explain after the show.
I know SmackDown. I'm a big fan of that. I go to that every
Well,
week.
you'll be there Tuesday, but we're not there.
right.
We're Monday right now.
No.
We're Monday in Richmond, Virginia. Monday Night Raw goes to the Richmond Coliseum, and then you'll be able to see this guy, Josh Matthews, and some SmackDown talent, too,
SmackDown.
at the Scope Arena Coliseum in Norfolk, Virginia. So we have a lot of good things happening, and then, of course, I want to alert our good fans in the Atlanta, Georgia area that a week from Monday, Monday Night Raw on the 21st of April heads to the Phillips Arena. And then on the 22nd, we go to Nashville, Tennessee at the Gaylord Entertainment Center. Isn't it amazing and uncanny? I can remember all this stuff.
That's great, Howard.
There's no script.
Nashville. It's the place to be, I'm told.
Have you ever been to Nashville?
I've been through Nashville, never been actually stayed there.
It is a vibrant city, my
That's
friend.
what I'm told.
And you'll know that in time when everything takes place. So that's where the WWE is going to be. And certainly we look forward to seeing you, good fans, if indeed you have the opportunity to come and see WWE Live. By the way, I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine. I want to say hello to a good friend of mine, McCarthy Starr. Now that sounds like the name of the band, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, yeah.
Well, you know, this is a good friend of mine and a fervent listener and watcher of Bike This every week.
Really?
So hello,
What's his name?
McCarthy Starr.
That's a cool name.
Like MacArthur Park.
Right.
You know,
Or Paul McCartney.
or Paul Simon, or whatever.
Or Simon Smothers.
Simon Diamond, Tom Smothers. Word association going to get you nowhere. You have anybody you want to give a shot to this week? No, that's okay. All right. Well, listen, next week here on Bite This, I am happy to let everybody know that we are going to have star power on star power. First of all, Well, we heard from Sable this week. Wouldn't it be fine? And you might just have to come in here, even if Dr. Tom is here.
And the three of us can talk to.
Absolutely, we'll have a threesome because Tori Wilson will be our guest next week, and it'll be interesting to see what Tori has to say about the developing situation with Sable. Who's the better Playboy cover girl? That's the thing, and you're still not going to. You're still straddling the fence.
No, now I have this image in my head of me and you and Dr. Tom in a threesome.
Well, manage to try, and then we'll get it all together, okay? If you manage that, you'll be fine. Also, now look at this, okay? And also next week, yes, who's going to be next week? Who is next? Would you like to have Goldberg on the show next week?
I would love to have Goldberg. I think everyone watching would love to have Goldberg, too.
Goldberg will be on the show next week also, and here is going to be your opportunity to talk to the man who is going to be at Backlash in Worcester, Massachusetts on the 27th. And you can certainly enjoy seeing Goldberg and talking to Goldberg next week here on Bite This. Don't forget, of course, Droz' 2 cents worth on WWE.com, Tales from the Hook in WWE Magazine. You can order WrestleMania through video on demand at WrestleManiaShopZone.com. Josh, you have anything else on your plate here?
Nope.
Well, guys, I must ask, we're about ready to bid adieu this week here on Bite This. And you see, we have 2 producers in the back here, folks.
Well, they're fighting
Matt
right now.
Duda, and we have Arno today. It's actually, it's Valo. And we're trying to figure out that, we're trying to throw them cues, and they in turn are just talking to each other, which means A, we're not doing this show the way we should be, or B, they could give a hoot about what they're doing.
Dr. Tom, Fink, what are you doing this weekend?
I told you I'm going to be on the road this weekend.
Really?
I'm going to Roanoke, Virginia.
Okay.
I'm going to Charlottesville, and I'm going to be in Richmond.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Adam Sandler's movie came out today.
Are you going to go see it?
I think so.
Okay, well, right now, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go see the movie.
Anger Management, that's what it's called.
All right. I have a feeling that that's it. All right, folks, on that note, the Cheap Shill. Josh, thanks, man. It's been fun.
Thank you, Fink.
Terrific. This is the Fink, Josh Matthews. We will all see you next week. Hopefully, Dr. Tom will be back right here on Bite This. Have a good week, everybody.